Okay, guys, so we're out here. We're continuing on with my little series I'm doing about basics of bass fishing, how to help people catch more fish, or for the beginners, help them get an understanding of the baits or the techniques that are back to the basics that still catch a lot of fish even to this day. So the first one we talked about was a Texas rig worm, and it gets a lot of bites from coast to coast, north to south, and it's just like this bait right here. So, this bait years and years ago is one of my first lures I ever fished with. This is called a spinner bait. I pretty much, when I was teaching my kids how to fish, this is what I put on the end of their rods, and they caught a lot of fish. A couple of my kids caught their first fish on a spinner bait, much like this one. So these blades right here spin in the water, adding a lot of flash, a lot of vibration. And what this bait mimics is a bait fish or a shad, which bass feed upon year-round. Doesn't matter, cold water, hot water, it doesn't really matter. Fish, bass are always going to want to forage, want to eat shad or some sort of bait fish. So that's what that bait really mimics. You got that skirt in there, and that kind of pulsates in the water with that flash of these blades, and it really draws those fish in, and they will bite it. What I recommend is to start out with, you get two colors, right? This here's a version of a white. This is a Buckeye Select Series spinner bait, just came out. Tackle Warehouse has a ton of spinner baits on the website there, so you can make sure and check them out from any price point, really. Different blade combinations, but that tandem willow leaf, that's what we call these, is a willow leaf blade, is really what I would suggest for a beginner. And either a white, or I got this Buckeye, a white and chartreuse. One of these two colors right here, pretty much you can fish anywhere in the country. Like I said, if it was real clear water, I'm going to throw more of this natural white color. If it's kind of stained, murky water, I'm going to throw that white and chartreuse. And you can see it's got a different blade combination on this one. It's got a silver blade and a gold blade. So that adds a little bit more flash, and the fish can pick up on that blade a little bit easier in that stained, muddy water. But all you want to do with this bait is simply tie it on. So this here, we're going to, hope you can see this. I got some orange line here. We're going to do a Palomar knot. So you fold your tag end over. You make a little loop right there. Go through the eye of the spinner bait like that. Okay. So then all you're going to do is do an overhand knot. Just like that. Now you're left with that big loop right there. Okay. You're going to put that around the whole bait. Then all you're going to do is wet it. And essentially you're going to pull down, and there you have it. Okay, so that's called a Palomar knot. It's the same knot I used in the Texas rig video. And then you're just going to take your scissors, clip off the tag end, and all you're going to do is you're going to throw this out in the water, whether you're in sticks, whether you're in grass, whether you're around a dock, rocks. This bait gets a lot of bites anywhere, realistically anywhere you can throw it. If a fish is around there, more often times than not, he's going to come over there and bite that. And what's really cool about it, and what I like about this baits, especially when I was teaching my kids, is it's virtually weedless. So you're not going to get a lot of snags because of the way that wire is. So it kind of protects that hook. But once a fish eats it, they can come down there and basically set the hooks themselves. So it's a great bait to get bites. It's for children or a novice. It's a lot of action, right? You're casting and you're winding, casting and winding. So it's a lot of action going on, and it keeps them busy. And trust me when I tell you, it gets a lot of bites. So a spinner bait is just one of those go-to baits, just like the Texas rig worm. And again, if I was going to my buddy's pond, I would for sure have one of these two ready, available, and I promise you I'm going to catch a fish on it. Now let's get into talk about the line, okay? Because we did a whole thing on the line. I would recommend in this situation for a spinner bait, okay, throwing a nylon or a monofilament style line, just because it's going to have that stretch, and like I mentioned, you know, throwing this around cover, whether it's sticks, grass, dock pilings, whatever, rocks, that's going to help you not break off a fish or break off your lure. So that's what I would recommend. You can throw fluorocarbon. There's nothing wrong with it. But for a beginner or somebody just getting into it, I would recommend throwing monofilament. It's a lot more forgiving. And like I said, the strength, overall strength, when you get around those types of harsh types of structure, like I mentioned, rocks and all that stuff, that's going to be a lot more forgiving than your fluorocarbon. So spinnerbait, must have, must fish. It's going to get you a lot of bites. Now let's talk about the size real quick. Right out of the box, I would go with a 3/8, which that's a 3/8 ounce right there. Really easy to fish. You know, it doesn't act the same as like a 3/4 or 1 ounce spinnerbait. Therefore, you can fish it from the bank really easily. Now, if you're going to fish, say, a little bit deeper and you kind of want to, you know, experiment like that, you can go up to a 1/2 ounce. They make them all the way up to 1.5 ounce spinnerbait, I believe. But that's a 1/2 ounce. You can see the difference between the head sizes right there. But all in all, I'd recommend a 3/8 ounce. It's just a perfect size, perfect profile. Not too big, not too small. Just what the bass are looking for when they're feeding on that bait fish or shad or something like that. So make sure and stay tuned for next week's go-to bait. So we'll see you guys then.